Her ship was broken. His heart needed repair. Crimson warning lights flashed through the outpost's operations center, snapping Owen Hart out of his maintenance routine. A siren pulsed against the dull hum of machinery, bathing consoles and steel support beams in an urgent, rhythmic glow. The station's AI, Sarah, announced with unflappable serenity, "Unscheduled docking. Approaching vessel. Xylenian registry. Drive status. Critical. Odds of safe landing. 35%. Owen's hands flew to the main interface. Holoscreens erupted with cascading diagnostics, flux graphs, radiation alarms, hull integrity spirals. Sweat prickled his brow as he overrode the safety protocols. "Sarah, magnify the approach vector. Show me the drive telemetry." Sarah complied, her voice a gentle balm amid chaos. "Vessel drive failing. Instability increasing. Recommend evacuation of docking bay." "No time for that," Owen muttered, already recognizing the ship's sleek, predatory silhouette. Xylenian, fast, impossibly advanced, and now limping toward the outpost with wild energy spikes arcing off its hull. He recognized the ship's markings, a diplomatic courier, typically forbidden from distress. He jabbed a command. "Sarah, open a comms channel. Priority 1. A moment's static, then the screen shimmered to life. Ambassador Tira Sarin filled the frame, her amber eyes luminous with anxiety. Striped skin shimmered under the cabin lights, furred ears flicking with every alarm. Her diplomatic uniform was immaculate despite the crisis, but her clawed hands gripped the console tight, knuckles pale beneath the stripes. "This is Ambassador Sarin of the Xylenian Protectorate, requesting emergency docking clearance. My ship's drive is destabilizing. I cannot guarantee structural integrity past the next orbit." Owen locked his gaze with hers, voice steady. "Ambassador, I'm taking manual control. I need you to follow my vectors exactly." Tira's tail coiled, betraying nerves, but her tone held. "Acknowledged. Transmitting ship's command interface now." He reached into the data stream, felt the Xylenian systems push back, alien, but not unfamiliar. "You're losing containment on your quantum core. I'll get you through the shields, but you'll feel a jolt." She swallowed, ears flattening. "Understood." Owen's fingers danced over the console, guiding her wounded ship along a razor-thin corridor between the outpost's defensive fields. A surge of magnetic resistance threatened to tip the Xylenian vessel into a fatal spin, but he countered, recalculating faster than Sarah's projections. "Steady, steady, adjusting pitch, now!" The ship shuddered, hull plating rippling with stress. For an instant, the energy field flared blinding white, and Owen's heart leapt into his throat. But then the alarm softened. The vessel had cleared the shield. He coaxed it into docking bay 4, deploying magnetic clamps a heartbeat before the drives fizzled out completely. With a final hiss and a jolt that rattled the walls, the Xylenian craft came to rest. Owen exhaled, grabbed his toolkit, and hurried through the service corridor toward the airlock. The heavy hatch cycled open, releasing a hiss of ozone-tinged air. Tira stood waiting, tall and striking, her posture proud, but every muscle wound tight. The diplomatic insignia gleamed at her throat, though it could not disguise the athletic grace in the set of her shoulders or the wary flick of her tail. She nodded in formal gratitude. "You have my thanks, Engineer Hart. That landing was—" "Too close," Owen finished, already scanning her with a handheld sensor. "Let's see what they did to your drive." He led the way down to engineering, where the heart of the Xylenian ship pulsed an ominous blue. Owen's diagnostic tools traced patterns through the magnetic haze. He frowned, jaw tightening as he read the results. Tira watched, tail swaying with unease. "What is it?" "Quantum destabilization," Owen said flatly. But this wasn't an accident. He tapped the display, expanding a simulation of the drive's collapse. "Foreign particles in the drive matrix. See these interference patterns? Someone sabotaged your ship, Ambassador." Tira's ears snapped back, eyes wide. "That's impossible. My crew wouldn't have had access to this subsystem, Owen finished, not unkindly. I've seen this before. My wife's shuttle went down the same way. Shock flickered across her features, suspicion yielding to something softer. I'm sorry. My partner Raylan died during a diplomatic mission. It was called an accident. But now... Owen nodded, his voice gentler. Sometimes the pattern is the message. Sabotage leaves a mark. Together they examined the core, tracing the path of the contamination. Sarah provided overlays, but Owen's insights ran deeper. He knew where to look, how to coax the truth from the tangled circuitry. Tira kept pace, her diplomatic reserve breaking down as worry and curiosity warred in her eyes. At last, the scan finished. Sarah intoned, "Structural compromise confirmed. Drive repair estimate, 7 days minimum." Tira's frustration broke through her composure. "That's too long. My mission, if I don't reach the summit, the treaty will fail. War may follow." Owen set down his scanner. "I can't change the laws of physics. If I rush this, we both die. But I'll work with you, every step." She hesitated, then gave a short, grateful nod. "Then we do this together." Something shifted between them, a shared understanding, quiet but unmistakable. Their burdens were no longer theirs alone. As they gathered tools and plans, the beginnings of trust formed in the hush of engineering. The crimson lights now faded to a softer glow. 3 days into repairs, a routine formed. Each morning, Tira arrived in engineering, bearing 2 mugs, one filled with the strong, bitter tea Owen preferred, the other brimming with a sweet, spicy crimson liquid that carried the scent of alien flowers and some subtle fire. She offered it with a wry smile, her striped tail swaying behind her as she set the cups on the cluttered workbench. "Try it," she urged, amber eyes bright with anticipation. "It's a Xylenian morning blend, meant to keep the mind sharp." Owen took the offered drink, watching her over the rim of the cup. "If I start glowing, you're explaining it to the medical AI." Tira grinned, her ears flicking forward with amusement. "Only a little bioluminescence, nothing permanent." He took a cautious sip, warmth blooming on his tongue, the taste a collision of spice and honeyed fruit. The sensation was unfamiliar but oddly comforting. Tira watched his reaction, her own cup nestled between her palms. Her diplomatic poise seemed to fade each morning, replaced by a genuine curiosity. About him, about his world, about the way he worked. Their days settled into a rhythm. Owen, sleeves rolled, would crawl half inside a malfunctioning power conduit, while Tira calibrated crystalline regulators with her slender, claw-tipped fingers. She had a knack for handling the delicate Xylenian tech, coaxing the damaged crystals to resonate in harmony with the human-forged nano-fabricated wires and stabilizers that Owen provided. "I never thought to blend your nanites with our crystal amplifiers," Tira said one afternoon, peering through a scanning lens as they bridged a hairline fracture in the drive matrix. "On Xylen, we keep systems compartmentalized. Too many variables otherwise." Owen's voice was quiet, but carried an undercurrent of pride. "Sometimes, making the parts talk to each other is the only way to get them to work. Human tech's messy, but flexible. Your crystals, though, they're like living things. You just have to listen." She glanced at him, lips quirking. "You speak of them almost as if they have souls." He smiled, a rare and gentle thing. "Sometimes, I think they do." Their hands brushed over the interface, her striped fingers almost touching his as they stabilized the node. The moment lingered, and then Tira pulled back, clearing her throat. "Well, it's certainly more effective than anything in the manuals." He met her gaze, something unspoken passing between them, a flicker of warmth that went beyond professional admiration. Their easy banter was interrupted late on the 3rd day. Sarah's voice, gentle but insistent, chimed through the engineering bay. "Forensic results are complete. Sabotage utilized Veronian technology. Tira's tail lashed, the tip flicking in agitation. She set her tools down with more force than necessary, claws glinting. Veronians, of course. They would rather see the sector burn than allow cooperation. Owen's expression darkened. He called up the scan data, overlays flickering over the drive core. Pattern matches are too close. This, he tapped a highlighted circuit, is almost identical to the sabotage that killed Mara. Particle distribution, timer signature, all of it. Tira stared at the display, realization dawning. You're saying the same faction has been moving against both our peoples for years. He nodded. I've been tracking anomalies, trying to connect the dots, but this is the first hard proof. She let out a shuddering breath, anger and fear mingling in her eyes. This isn't just politics anymore. It's personal. They killed Raylan, and they're still trying. Owen hesitated, seeing the rawness of her emotion. He set aside his tools, his voice gentle. You want to talk? Tira said nothing for a long moment. Then wordlessly, she drifted toward the viewport set into the engineering wall, the stars outside cold and distant. Owen followed, joining her at the glass. Their reflections, his weary, square-jawed face, her angular, striped features, merged in the pain, an unlikely pair drawn together by shared wounds. She spoke softly, her voice almost lost in the hum of the ship. After Raylan died, the official report was immediate. Mechanical failure, pilot error. But I knew him. He never would have made those mistakes. I protested, demanded an inquiry. They shut me out, said I was letting grief cloud my judgment. Owen's eyes remained on the stars, but his voice was close. I know what it's like, having everyone tell you to let go, to move on, when you know in your bones there's more. Tira's ears drooped, her tail curling protectively around her. You're the first who hasn't dismissed my suspicions, not even on Xylan. Everyone was afraid of what it would mean, who might be behind it. He offered her a sad smile, one hand resting lightly on the cold glass. Sometimes the truth is dangerous. But I couldn't stop digging after Mara. It was the only thing that made sense, trying to find who did it. Grief's a hell of a fuel. She turned to face him, searching his eyes. Does it fade? The pain? He paused, considering. No, it changes. It gets quieter, maybe, becomes part of you. But it never really leaves. Tira let the silence settle, her gaze vulnerable but steady. My kind. We feel deeply. We remember. We mourn for a long time, sometimes forever. Owen nodded, understanding. The hush between them was not awkward, but companionable, heavy with empathy and the promise of trust. For a moment, the chaos of sabotage and politics receded, and there was only this quiet understanding, reflections side by side in the starlit glass. The spell broke only when Sarah's status update drifted through the room, low and unobtrusive. Tira straightened, brushing a loose strand of hair from her brow, reclaiming a measure of composure. She glanced at Owen, a hesitant smile pulling at her lips. Later, as evening deepened, Tira lingered at the workbench after they finished recalibrating the main drive array. The repairs were progressing, too slowly for diplomatic deadlines, but steadily. Owen packed away his tools, glancing up as Tira's shadow stretched across the scattered datapads and crystalline shards. She hesitated, then spoke, her tone softer than he'd heard before. Tell me about Mara, if you don't mind. He looked at her, surprised, then set down the hydrospanner and nodded. She was a systems engineer, brilliant, stubborn, could take apart a fusion core with her eyes closed. She liked music from old Earth, the kind with wild guitars and messy lyrics. We met on a colony project, got stranded together during a supply delay. She made the best of everything, no matter how bad it got. Tira listened quietly, her amber eyes gentle, her ears focused entirely on him. You loved her very much. He nodded, not trusting his voice at first. Every day. Even after she was gone, I kept hearing her in my head, telling me not to give up. That's why I couldn't accept the accident story. Tira reached out, hesitating only a moment before laying a hand on his arm. Warm, steady. I'm glad you didn't. It means someone else can finally see the truth. He looked down at her hand, then back up into her eyes. The grief that had kept him closed off for so long felt lighter, as if he could finally share the weight with someone who understood. In the quiet of engineering, surrounded by the glow of alien machinery and the faint scent of Xylenian spice, their technical partnership had become something more, a fragile, genuine intimacy, built on trust and the courage to remember. As Owen recalibrated the quantum core, the comforting rhythm of his work was shattered by Sarah's voice, sharper than he'd ever heard it. Urgent message incoming, Earth Fleet Command, priority override, routing to engineering display. He wiped his hands, heart thudding, as the main holoscreen flickered. Captain Lena Voss's face appeared, sharp-jawed, icy-eyed, her uniform pristine and forbidding. This is Captain Voss. All repairs on the Xylenian vessel are to cease immediately. The ship is now under fleet quarantine, suspected of harboring restricted technology. Security teams are inbound. Stand by and await further instructions. Compliance is mandatory. The message ended with a curt nod. Owen stared at the frozen image of Voss, the tension in his spine twisting into a cold knot. They weren't just trying to delay repairs, they wanted the ship locked down, or worse. He spun on his heel, dropping the calibrator with a clatter, and racing through the tangle of corridors toward the auxiliary lab. He found Tira bent over a console, stripes tense along her arms, her tail lashing with agitation. She didn't look up as he entered. Tira, Earth Fleet just called. They're shutting us down. Security is on its way. She cut him off, voice low and furious. I know. I've been running a deep scan on the sabotage routines. Owen, the code isn't Veronian, it's Earth origin, Black Division protocols, classified. I only recognized it because Raylan was investigating similar patterns before he died. Owen's breath caught. You're sure? She rotated the projection. Here, see these cryptographic tags? Same as the ones in the drive that killed Mara. It's the same people, Owen, the same network. This was never about trade. It's about stopping any real alliance. Realization crashed over him like cold water. He thought of Mara, the lies, the years of circling dead ends. The evidence had always pointed away from the obvious, because the enemy was inside. And now they're coming to erase every trace, he whispered. Suddenly, the overhead lights flickered, dimming to a sickly red. Sarah's voice trembled with synthetic distress. Multiple security breaches detected. Unauthorized boarding parties on decks 2, 3, and 5. Communications are being jammed. Warning, Director Corps security agents have overridden my controls. I am being locked out. A crackle of static cut her off. Emergency sirens wailed, echoing down the metal corridors. Tira's head snapped up. We have to move. Before Owen could reply, the doors shuddered with the stomp of armored boots. He felt Tira's clawed hand slip into his, fierce and urgent. She squeezed, an unspoken vow that neither of them would face this alone. Back route, he mouthed, leading her through a maintenance hatch barely big enough for two. Behind them, the air shivered with the hiss of plasma cutters and the bark of orders. They ducked into darkness as the power grid went down completely, the emergency lights guttering out. The corridors became a maze of shadow and memory, only the faintest glimmer from Tira's bioluminescent stripes showing the way. Owen's hand gripped hers tightly, guiding her by touch. His world now reduced to the slick feel of metal bulkheads and the heat of her palm. From every direction came the muffled thump of weapons and the harsh crackle of comms. Then, through the stifling dark, Voss's voice boomed over the emergency channel. Owen Hart, Ambassador Saren, you are surrounded. Surrender, and you will not be harmed. This is your only chance. Tira tensed, ears flattened in defiance. She's lying. she breathed. Core's agents don't leave loose ends. We don't surrender, Owen replied, voice hard. We outthink them. He tugged her down a side passage, memories of every maintenance run and secret access panel flooding back. They dodged through a coolant shaft, emerging behind the main engineering ring, footsteps muffled by the soft thrum of residual energy. He stopped beside the battered core. We can use the quantum core, destabilize the field, short burst. It'll generate a localized gravity well, scramble their orientation. Tira's eyes widened, catching the plan instantly. You can do that? Not safely, he admitted. But safely isn't an option. She squeezed his hand again, her claws gentle. Then I'll cover you. He accessed the core's manual override, fingers flying over the controls. Alarms wailed as he bypassed the safeties, the core's energy flaring dangerously. Ready? She nodded, taking up a position near the hatch, her feline form low and poised to strike. As the first squad forced the door, Owen hit the trigger. Reality warped, gravity twisted, floors and walls tilting, weapons and helmets floating free for an instant of perfect chaos. The agents tumbled, disoriented. Tira exploded into motion, a blur of striped muscle and flashing claws. She swept the legs out from under one guard, wrenched a weapon from another, and disabled them with precise, non-lethal strikes. Owen lunged for the control panel as Captain Voss staggered through the swirling field, pistol drawn. Stop! Voss snarled, firing a wild shot that scorched the bulkhead. Owen ducked, using the last of the gravity surge to launch himself across the deck. He tackled Voss, slamming her into the console. She clawed for her sidearm, but he twisted it away, his voice hoarse with fury. You killed Mara. You started all this. Voss sneered. You don't know what you're... He knocked her out cold with the butt of the pistol. The gravity field collapsed with a boom, dumping everyone back to the floor. Tira dropped to one knee beside him, breathing hard, the last guard unconscious at her feet. Sarah's voice, weak but recovering, filtered through the nearest speaker. Warning, hostile ships inbound. 4 vessels, no identification. Estimated docking in 5 minutes. Owen's mind raced, blood pounding in his ears. We can't stay. They'll kill us, bury the evidence, destroy the ship. Tira nodded, her expression fierce. We need proof. Something they can't erase. He remembered, with a sudden jolt, the story Mara once told him. About a hidden backup node, a failsafe she'd embedded in the asteroid field during a maintenance run. There's a node, Mara's. It has everything. The Black Division protocols, sabotage logs, maybe even Rowland's files. If we can reach it... Tira's eyes shone with hope and determination. Then we expose them, together. They moved quickly, Owen gathering the encrypted data slates, Tira disabling the last of Core's agents with swift, practiced efficiency. They left Voss bound, the Core's monitors set to loop false readings. The outpost trembled as the first hostile ships docked, but Owen and Tira, hands entwined, slipped through the service tunnels toward the docking bay. Every second felt borrowed. In the bay, the battered Xylenian vessel still waited, patched but flight-ready. Sarah, now partially restored, opened a private channel. I will mask your launch as long as I can. Good luck, Owen. Ambassador. Owen set the coordinates for the asteroid field, his pulse steady now, purpose burning away the fear. Tira settled into the co-pilot's seat, her tail curling protectively around his wrist. She glanced at him, a fierce smile curving her lips. Let's make sure they never do this to anyone else. He smiled back, hope and defiance shining in his eyes. Together they prepared to flee into the asteroid field, ready to fight not just for survival, but for justice, and each other. Aboard Tira's repaired ship, the air shimmered with tension, and the hum of engines still hot from their escape. Owen hunched over the engineering console, his hands moving in precise, practiced gestures. He rerouted energy, spliced code, and twisted dials until the quantum signature of their vessel danced unpredictably across the spectrum. "This'll mask us, at least until they get wise," he muttered, sweat prickling at his hairline. Tira, her posture effortless and feline in the pilot's seat, shot him a quick, appreciative glance. "Just keep us off their sensors," she said, voice low and calm. "I'll keep us off their hulls." Outside, the asteroid field loomed, jagged, whirling debris orbiting the node's hidden heart. Tira's hands played over the controls, the ship weaving through the chaos with a grace that belied the danger. "Vector shift in 3, 2, now," Owen called, eyes never leaving the scanner readouts. She obeyed, banking hard to thread a needle between tumbling boulders. The hull vibrated, stardust sparking along the shields. "You know," Tira teased, "I've flown through the Delashi storms. This is almost relaxing." Owen smirked, half distracted. "Remind me to book you as my pilot next time Earth fleet comes knocking." Their synergy had grown in the crucible of crisis. Technical jargon mingled with laughter and memory as they worked. Between bursts of navigation, Owen found himself talking, really talking, for the first time in years. He told Tira about Mara's wild ideas, her habit of leaving secret codes hidden in ship systems, her stubborn refusal to give up even when the odds soured. He spoke of the ache her loss had left, how it had hardened and sharpened him, how guilt and love had become inseparable. Tira listened, her head tilted, striped ears attentive. Her questions were gentle, but cut to the bone. "Do you think Mara ever doubted you?" she asked softly, voice blending with the ship's low thrum. He shook his head, a faint smile curling his lips. "She doubted everyone, except me." Tira smiled, gaze lingering. "You still carry her with you?" "Yeah," he admitted, glancing at her sidelong. "But I'm starting to think maybe I could—" He broke off, suddenly shy. She reached across the console, her striped hand brushing his. "Maybe you could let someone in again?" He looked at her, surprise and something warmer flickering in his eyes. "Maybe." A chime from the nav system interrupted them. Owen's scanner pinged, then zeroed in on the backup node, Mars failsafe, hidden deep in the largest asteroid. "That's it. Node's active, data integrity holding. We just need a stable approach." But as Tira adjusted their trajectory, warning lights blazed crimson. Owen's heart sank as the tactical display populated with hostile signatures, sleek, menacing ships, their energy profiles spliced with both Earth and Veronian tech. Core's hybrid fleet. A comm channel crackled to life. Core's face appeared, pale and gloating, eyes cold as the void. "Mr. Hart, Ambassador Saren, you've led me a fine chase. Did you enjoy Mara's screams as much as I did? You'll join her soon. Surrender now and perhaps your deaths will be less educational." Owen's jaw clenched, his anger glacial and razor sharp. "You're not going to win, Core. Not this time." Core smirked. "Your little node won't save you. Tira, you'll go down in history as the ambassador who doomed her people. What will your council think?" Tira's hand found Owen's beneath the console, her grip fierce and steady. "Do you have a plan?" she whispered. He nodded, voice steady. "Quantum inversion. If I can flip the field at the right moment, their energy weapons will backfire on their own ships." She blinked, comprehension dawning. "That's insane." "Yeah, but it'll work. If you can fly us through the grav wells." She smiled, fierce and fearless. "Just tell me when." He met her eyes, their hands clasped in a brief, electric touch. "On your mark." Core's ships opened fire, lances of plasma lighting the darkness. Tira slammed the ship into a spin, weaving through gravitational eddies and hurtling rocks with breathtaking precision. Alarms screamed, hull plating groaning as meteors grazed their shields. Owen's fingers blurred over the core's controls, recalibrating the quantum field, aligning the inversion coils. "Almost there! Hold her steady!" he shouted. "I am holding her steady!" Tira retorted. though her voice was edged with laughter and adrenaline. A barrage of enemy fire converged on their stern. Owen hit the final sequence. Now! A pulse rippled out from their ship, a sudden shift, as if gravity turned inside out. The first wave of plasma bolts reversed course, careening back into Core's vessels. Shields failed, hulls buckled, explosions lighting the asteroid field in violent bursts. Core's flagship spun out of formation, a hole melted through its side. Tira whooped, tail lashing. Direct hit! They're falling back! Don't celebrate yet, Owen warned, eyes fixed on the node. Get us close. I'll start the transfer. She brought the ship in, skating just above the asteroid's surface, engines barely audible over the rush of blood in Owen's ears. He keyed the node, linking Mara's hidden memory core to their systems. Data streamed across the console, evidence of sabotage, Black Division protocols, Raylan's encrypted files, every secret they'd risked their lives for. Tira checked the scanners, confirming the enemy fleet's retreat. We're clear for now, she said, her voice softer. Owen, hands trembling, began the data transfer. The node's files unfurled, line by line, every truth Mara had died to protect. He felt Tira's presence beside him, solid, steady, a quiet promise. For a moment the chaos outside faded, and it was only them, alone in the glowing heart of the asteroid field. He looked up, meeting her gaze. The silence between them was thick with words unsaid. He reached for her hand, their fingers twining together naturally, as if they'd done so for years. Tira's eyes glimmered. Owen, she began, her voice low and vulnerable, the edge of a confession trembling on her lips. He leaned closer, drawn by the charge building between them. Tira, A new alert blared, slicing through the intimacy like a blade. The comm screen came alive with a sharp, authoritative voice. Ambassador Saren, this is Commander Vera of the Xylenian Council. You are ordered to stand down and prepare to be boarded. Do not attempt to flee. Tira's breath caught. She stared at the transmission in disbelief, her hand tightening around Owen's. Vera, she whispered. My cousin. Owen's jaw tightened, calculating their dwindling options. On the view screen, the official Xylenian ship loomed, sleek and unyielding, blocking their only exit. Tira's gaze flickered from the monitor to Owen, torn between duty and the fragile, vital hope they had built together. The enemy behind, her own people ahead, and in her grasp, the truth that could change everything. Vera's transmission filled the cockpit, her image sharp and formidable, golden eyes flashing with the authority of the Xylenian Council. Ambassador Saren, disengage from your current course and prepare to be boarded. You are to return immediately for debrief. She paused, gaze narrowing at Owen. Entanglement with this human has already compromised protocol. Stand down, Tira. Now. Tira's hand clamped around Owen's, refusing to let go. Her voice rang clear and unwavering through the comm. No, Vera. I will not abandon him, and I will not obey a protocol designed to keep us blind and divided. You're here because you believe what they told you, about Earth, about me, about Raylan. But everything you've been told is a lie. Vera's tail flicked in agitation, the diplomatic mask slipping for a heartbeat. You are not yourself, cousin. You're speaking treason. Tira's voice trembled with fury and heartbreak. Is it treason to seek the truth? Rallan was murdered investigating corruption in our ranks. Mara Hart was killed for the same reason. Protocol wasn't written for our safety. It was weaponized to keep us apart, to prevent any real alliance. The conspiracy runs through both our worlds. Vera's composure faltered, her ears flattening as doubt flickered across her features. She glanced past Tira, eyes meeting Owen's. And you, human, do you have proof of these accusations? Owen's fingers flew across the console, completing the final checksum as the transfer neared its end. Everything you need is right here. Encrypted logs, Black Division signatures, sabotage evidence. We risked everything to get this to you. He glanced at Tira, his voice steady. We're not running, Vera. We're exposing the truth. Tira stepped forward, filling the screen with her defiant silhouette. If you have ever trusted me, Vera, question the official story. Look at the data. Ask yourself who benefits from our distrust. For a moment, silence filled the cockpit, thick with the gravity of what they were risking. Then, with a slow exhale, Vera lowered her head. Stand by, she said quietly. Behind her, the weapons grid powered down. Her own officers exchanged nervous glances. Transmit your evidence. If what you say is true, the Council will have to listen. Owen pressed the authorization. The node pulsed, sending a compressed data packet to the Xylenian ship. Vera's gaze darted across her tactical displays as the files unfurled. Schematics, encrypted orders, recordings of Mara's final moments, and Raylan's incomplete investigation. Vera paled as she read, horror draining the color from her face. By the stars, the Council must see this. Tira, you've started something none of us can control. She drew herself up, resolve hardening her voice. You have my support, but the Council will need everything, full transparency, and you must be ready to face them. Before Tira could reply, new signatures flashed across the tactical display. Sleek ships in Earth Fleet, blue and silver, dropping out of warp in tight formation. Owen's heart jumped, his mind racing through contingency plans. The comm crackled again, this time with a familiar calm authority. This is Commander Julian Park of Earth Intelligence. Stand down, all parties. We have been tracking Director Corps' operation for months and possess corroborating evidence. Ambassador Saren, Engineer Hart, you are to remain where you are and prepare to transfer your findings. Tira's eyes darted to Owen, searching his face for guidance. Is this another trap? She whispered. Owen checked the incoming codes, cross-referencing them with Mara's old files. The authentication was genuine. Park was real, his mission long rumored but never confirmed. Mara's words echoed in his memory. The truth needs witnesses, or it dies in the dark. He squeezed Tira's hand. We can trust him. Mara believed in Park. She said if anything ever happened, he'd be the one to finish what she started. Tira nodded, trusting him completely. Then we stand together. Outside, the hybrid warships scattered, their engines flickering as Corps' battered flagship limped away. Park's fleet positioned itself between the Xylenian and Earth vessels, a fragile shield of neutrality. The node's data transfer ticked toward completion, each percentage point a heartbeat in Owen's chest. Tira moved to the viewport, her silhouette caught between the blue-white glare of Earth Fleet's lights and the golden glow of her cousin's ship. She turned back, her gaze locking with Owen's. All the urgency, the fear, the hope they had shared over days and close calls compressed into that single look. He stepped to her, his palm gentle on her striped cheek. I'm not letting you go. Not now. Not ever. She leaned into his touch, her eyes glistening. You're the bravest human I've ever met, Owen Hart, and the most stubborn. He grinned, brushing his thumb along the curve of her jaw. You bring out the best in me. All around them, the bridge lights flickered as data arced from the node to the waiting ships, evidence that would topple conspiracies, force open secrets, and demand justice from both worlds. Park's voice echoed through the ship, measured and reassuring. Transmission received. Stand by for secure comms with both councils. But Tira heard none of it. Her focus was entirely on Owen, on the warmth of his touch and the promise in his eyes. She reached up, her fingers tracing the line of his jaw, her voice trembling with relief and longing. If this is the end, it's just the beginning, Owen whispered, pulling her close. Under the wary, watchful gaze of Xylenian and Earth delegations, they kissed, unapologetic and defiant, a declaration made in front of two civilizations. The world could watch. The future, at last, was theirs to write. In the Earth Fleet Command Center, the vast chamber pulsed with anxious anticipation. Holographic projections of star maps and political charts hovered over the council table, casting pale light on the faces of admirals, counselors, and envoys from two worlds. At the heart of it all stood Owen and Tira, flanked by Vera and Commander Park, the memory of recent chaos still etched into their features. Tira stepped forward, her diplomatic mask replaced by honest conviction. Members of the panel, the evidence speaks for itself. She nodded to Owen, who activated the encrypted packet. Images flickered into the air, schematics of sabotage, intercepted transmissions, the unmistakable digital fingerprints of Core's network. Earth and Xylenian officials leaned in as Mara's voice echoed through the logs, followed by Raylan's, their last messages a chilling testament to what had been lost. Commander Park narrated with precision. The operation spanned years. Core and his conspirators manipulated both governments, planting Veronian tech to foster suspicion and derail any progress toward unity. This is not just an Earth problem. It is not just a Xylenian wound. It is a crime against both our peoples and our future. Vera rose, her golden eyes steady. I am Vera Saren, Counselor of Xylen. I have seen the proof. I add my voice to the call for justice. My cousin Rallin was murdered by these same forces. His death called an accident, his work buried. No more secrets. No more fear. The panel was shaken. A Xylenian elder, her stripes faded with age, broke the silence. Ambassador Saren, your conduct has been unconventional. What do you say to the rumors of your personal involvement with this human? Owen felt Tira tense beside him, but she stood tall, her gaze unwavering. The old protocols failed us. They forbade friendship, trust, even love, between our peoples. That prohibition let darkness flourish. I declare those protocols obsolete. If you seek unity, you must begin by trusting those who have risked everything for it. Murmurs rippled through the room. Vera lifted her chin, voice ringing clear. Tira is right. Our new alliance must be built on more than treaties and signatures. It must be built on trust, on shared sacrifice, on love where it is found. I support her, fully. Commander Park folded his hands, his calm gaze resting on the pair. In fact, the collaboration between Engineer Hart and Ambassador Saren has already yielded advances in quantum technology that our best teams could not achieve alone. What you see before you is not only the exposure of a conspiracy, but the promise of what unity can accomplish. Owen glanced at Tira, a shy smile tugging at his lips. Their hands found each other, fingers entwining openly before the assembled powers. He felt the weight of 1,000 eyes, but for once, he didn't care. An Earth Admiral, silver-haired and severe, rose to address the chamber. It is the decision of this panel to renew negotiations between our worlds. We will create new frameworks, joint task forces, shared research, and protocols that respect our differences while celebrating what we can do together. Tira turned, her amber eyes shining. If I may, Admiral, I volunteer us both to help draft these new protocols. Not as representatives of separate worlds, but as living proof of what can be built together. The room was silent for a moment, then applause erupted, hesitant at first, then swelling as the old guard gave way to hope. Owen grinned, pulling Tira close, feeling the warmth of her cheek against his. She's always volunteering me for impossible things, he whispered, and Tira's laugh was bright and unburdened. 3 months later, the world was different. Owen and Tira worked side by side in the heart of the new Joint Research Center, a sprawling complex of glass and alloy floating in orbit above neutral ground. Here, humans and Xylenians moved easily among shared laboratories, blending languages and science, laughter and tradition. In the center of Lab 1, a gleaming quantum core pulsed with harmonious energy, a living symbol of their partnership. Tira's new uniform was deep blue trimmed in gold, the insignia marking her as the first official liaison for integrated operations. She wore it with pride, her posture tall and her tail flicking with contentment. Owen was at her side, hands busy with calibration but eyes always drifting to her. "Did you ever think we'd get here?" he asked, voice quiet, as the room emptied for the evening. Tira smiled, stepping close enough that her stripes brushed his arm. "Some nights, in the dark, I thought I was dreaming. But then I'd see your face, and I'd remember, this is real." She reached for the pendant at her throat, a small, crystalline matrix glowing faintly with quantum resonance. "I had this crafted from Mara's backup. Her memory lives here, as part of our work. She would have been proud." Owen's hand closed gently over hers, feeling the soft vibration of the pendant. "She would have loved you," he said, his voice thick. "And she'd be furious that you're a better engineer than me." Tira laughed, head thrown back, amber eyes sparkling. "You keep up well enough, Owen Hart. And for the record, you are still the only human I've ever seen rewire a Xylenian core with nothing but a hydrospanner and a stubborn streak." He grinned, squeezing her hand. "Just don't tell the students. They'll think protocol is optional." As if summoned by the thought, the labcom chimed. Commander Park's voice echoed through the speakers, warm and authoritative. "Dr. Hart, Ambassador Saren, your class is waiting. Our first cohort of integrated engineering students has arrived." Tira's eyes softened. "They're the future. We owe them everything." Hand in hand, they walked through the corridor, past murals of nebulae and the joint flags of Earth and Xylan. The doors parted, revealing a room of eager faces, humans and Xylenians, hopeful and uncertain, looking to them for guidance. Owen paused, mischief in his eyes. "You know, Tira, 3 months ago your ship was a wreck, and my heart wasn't much better. But look at us now." Tira's tail curled around his wrist as she squeezed his hand, her smile radiant. "We built something stronger, together." As they stepped into the light, ready to teach, to lead, and to shape the future side by side, Tira's laughter mingled with Owen's, a promise echoing through the halls that love and trust could bridge even the widest gulf between worlds. That's the end of the story. You can leave us a tip or become a channel member. This greatly helps our team improve the quality of our videos. You can send a tip using the Super Thanks button right below the video. We truly appreciate each and every one of you who has subscribed and supported us. Please do not forget to subscribe to our channel, like the video, and write in the comments what you liked most about this story. Our team will be very grateful to you. You can find even more fascinating stories on our channel. See you in the next video.